So now people who are on Zoom meeting also they can, see and hear what we're looking at. So this is a rendering of what we envision the structure of Bush Academy to look like. And in real life, inshallah, it would be even more beautiful than that because it's people who make the place, it's not structures. Well, if we can get this thing to work. Okay, here we go. So what is Bush Academy? So we borrowed the name that we've been using for our weekend Islamic School of Huntington, for good vibes. And we essentially re-envisioned that, what it could mean. So wisdom, innovation, science, and health. And we will talk more about that. So it's not projecting how I want it to, but let me see. Is it okay? Well, maybe I'll read from that. Dina, can you drive this just the bills? Okay. So why Wish Academy? And we will talk about again the concept more. Again, use your QR code if you want Arabic translation. So families, they want a stronger education. You will hear from our speaker, we don't really do a fantastic job in the state of West Virginia in education. Maybe you've noticed that, with your children, but we really want to create opportunity for them, want to create opportunities for the larger community. And we believe that we are in the right medium to have this happen. So we are surrounded by, health industry, right? And we have all the innovative things that are coming with Marshall University. The president of the university has invested a lot in creating business, engineering, cybersecurity, all that. All these things are very important, very relevant to us. And the goal is we don't want to obviously replace what's existing. We just want to provide an alternative model. And you will probably be wondering, well, why not doing a private school? And we will answer this question next. Okay, so what is a public charter? I'm going to skip over that because I think that's one of the questions we received. But obviously, I myself, and I think many of us who essentially went on this mission to explore our options, we had no clue what that was. But soon it became, obvious that was really what's right for us. Okay, next. So what we hope to accomplish is we want our students to be prepared, so they are on a mission. Now, this is not a vocational type of school. We're not brainwashing people to become something, our students. But we want them to recognize their potentials, and we want to provide them with all the tools that they need for that, and to be lifelong learners. We want them to be character-driven, and we want them to be leaders in this community. Next. All right. So wisdom, innovation, science, and health, we can touch about that. Again, we're trying to infuse those ideas throughout our curriculum. Next. All right. We can also skip over this. All right. So charter school is not going to be a big school, and obviously that's the biggest advantage of a charter school. But there are a lot of other advantages that we will be talking about. But we want this to be accessible to people outside this community too. It's not just for us. And I think this is a very important thing to understand. But on that note, we all know that as members of the Muslim Association of Huntington, most of us come from teaching background. Most of us. And I can, I'm looking at the crowd, we are heavily invested in Huntington tri-state area. We teach at Marshall, we have our footprint, we've been here for a long time. We want to spread those ideals. We want to be involved in education. Next. We want our children, when we say a focus on health, we don't want them necessarily to become like physicians, but what we want really to expose kids to is healthy living, because that's a crucial element. And it's no secret that in the state of West Virginia, we suffer from a lot of issues to do with being health illiterate. So we want to be able to use the resources available to us to create a different generation. Next. Okay. We can move on to the next one. All right, so how do we come in to support this? That's another thing we'll be talking about. But the biggest contribution of this community to the future of Wish Academy is the building that we invested, all of us invested in. This building was built with a purpose, with an intention, and the purpose is to host a future school. So we have that building, and that's the biggest contribution, but our contribution will not end with the establishment of Wish Academy, because we have other things that we have to continue to support it with. And I think most importantly, just to continue to believe in the vision and continue that momentum. Next. All right. To be clear, and those may arise as part of the questions, Wish Academy is essentially, as we speak, is being incorporated as a separate non-for-profit business in the state of West Virginia. Meaning we're 501c, we are called Wish Academy, different employer ID number, like the whole thing. We're completely separate. But you can understand, our affiliation and geographic proximity to the masjid, to the Muslim Association of Huntington, has to come with some type of governance and rules that will keep the two entities separate, but again, supporting each other in terms of the vision for education in the tri-state area. Next. All right. This is what we project will happen in terms of the growth. We hope, and we've done some initial surveys, we hope to start off with that many and ultimately reach our goal of 80 to 100, where at that stage, we would become self-sufficient, meaning we would not rely on much financial support from the larger community to take care of the expenses of Wish Academy. So you understand, like the first few years, it's going to require a lot of support until we get to our number, right? And then things will be, essentially, hopefully, we will get there. All right. Next. All right. And we can skip also past that. So I want you also to know, because it's equally important, that Dr. Harrison has been helping us with a grant application where we would get some federal funding meant for public charter schools for a significant amount of money, which is meant essentially to get us up on our feet. So we are very confident that we will get that. The support we've been getting is really like too, so it's just too good to be true. But the board is with us, they're helping us in every way, and we're confident we will get there. Next. All right. Next. All right, so that's it. So this is a very brief introduction, and without further ado, happy to introduce again Dr. Deborah Harrison. And what we would like to do, if you could, like in a few minutes, just tell us about your experience. Okay, I know what I'm doing. It's close to the, I think if we just hold it. Can everybody hear me?
So as Iman said, you can look at me and see that I've been in public education for a long time. I was retired and my husband passed, and so I was substituting in public school. And I saw one of the dreadful states our public schools are in. And about that same time, Dr. Syed called him to ask me to work with him on developing a public charter scheme. I'll be honest with you, I had no idea what a public charter school was.
What is
Closer. Okay. But hear me if I just use my teacher voice.
we can try.
Can everybody hear me? Okay, all right. So
I'm getting it.
But after I started researching, and the other thing about public charter schools is it's all about the parent choice. You pay taxes, you have a right to say how your child is educated. And we know that what we're doing in public school, I feel almost like a hypocrite because I was in public school for so long. But we know what public school is not working. West Virginia is the ninth worst state related to education in the nation. Yet we're one of the highest in graduate students who really aren't compared to the real world. So as I worked on looking at the public charge food, I realized that we have opportunity to teach different. We have opportunity to teach different. Like one of the things we do is we try to connect the lessons that we're teaching in class with real life experiences. Like we're doing on robotics in our computer class. So our students, our seventh grade and sixth grade students went to WVU and worked with a robotics program at WVU. So we try to provide as much real life connection as possible. We have teachers who are so dedicated. And I will be honest with you, our teachers don't make very much at all. And I was telling Nina that we've only lost one person from year to year. And it was a good loss. It was someone who was teaching physical education class. And we have a wonderful person in that position now. But it allows teachers freedom to teach and to be effective teachers. And I will tell you that our first year with the summative assessment, and yes, for accounting, public charter schools have to take the summative assessment that every school in the state of West Virginia has to take. For our first year in English language arts, we surpassed every grade level in the percentage of what our students were able to perform and demonstrate to pay. Our fourth grade across the board did amazing. Our math scores in fourth grade was 83% compared to 53% of the state level. In our third, sixth, and seventh, we have work to do in that. But we've already put a plan in place. We've looked at the data related to some of the assessment. We've hired a tutor. And we have that flexibility that we can respond to what our needs are almost immediately. So we evaluate we have a thing called the IPPS, it's Individual Performance Plan for Success. We have one of those for every student. We look at that plan quarterly and we make adjustments based on what our students need. And our families are important in that IPPS. We meet with them. We talk about how their students are doing. We ask for input from the families. What do you think we can do differently in your child before lecture? We also have the ability to accelerate students. Like we have 4 students now that we have moved up a grade level based on a set of criteria we put in place. But while we can see someone in the 4th grade when they had the maturity level and the academic ability to do 5th grade work. So we're flexible in doing that. We can truly address our student needs. And even when we don't have anybody that has identified as a student with a disability, but we recognize students who have weak areas and we are tutoring and implementing students. So we are small. Our student population is small, and we work to keep it that way. We're trying to keep about 15 students per class. We added 8th grade this year. Currently, we don't have any 7th grade students, but we have a full component middle school. And one of the things we're implementing in middle school is the humanities. Public school teaches the humanities. And that's the incorporation in science, social studies, reading language arts, all incorporated so that there is a relationship. You see how the educational process relates. There's a purpose in it. I've worked at this academy for nothing. from the very beginning because I believe so much in this. And you talk about me working with you, but I would say I have looked at these documents both for the grant and for the application for the charter. And I provide with good guidance here and there, because the work she has done in preparing everything. I say that education, in my opinion, education is innate, being education is innate. And I see that, and I'm sorry if I'm a parent, but I see that in the, there's just this information about what you need to do for kids. So I rambled more than I intended to because I'm really excited and passionate about what a public charter school can do for our kids. And looking at your socioeconomic area, there are so many kids in this area that can benefit from the quality education, not only your students, but families who care. But you have the recruitment area that you need to really work with to try to get those students enrolled, because every child deserves a quality education. So wait a minute. And the thing I've seen differently in our schools is that our parents are actively involved. And they feel welcome in the school, and they feel like they can come to us and say, and we do a parent survey. I aggregate all this data, I send the information out to the parents. So, and we try to be as transparent as possibly can. But the family structure makes all the difference in the world. And for those kids who don't have that family structure, like some of these students that you're working with, those are kids who are the right kids who need someone to lobby with it. So, but again, I'm ready, but I will be happy to answer any questions or talk about anything that you might have or.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience. And obviously there's more to be learned. But we asked the community to share some questions for us. I have a list of the questions, but for you who are here, you have the priority, since you're here, to ask a question. So if any of you has a question in their mind, think about it, let me know. But I'm going to start by just, the question that I think is burning on a lot of people's mind. So when, we were thinking of public charter school versus, other options that are out there. So you touched on a few things. One of them is a small, like classrooms or a school. But why would I go for a public charter? And what are the sort of assurances that I will get different quality education? So how is that being monitored? Who do you report to? So things of that nature. I know it's a little general, but.
Okay, so we do report to the State Board of Education. We are a public school, we get public funding, and we have to report, and that's why we have to do the summary assessment. But we also have the West Virginia Public Charter School Board that we have to report to. I just recently turned in our annual report. The annual report looks at all of the criteria set in our charter, and our charter is about 36 pages of things that we have to do and that we are accountable for. It's not like we're just out there winging it. So I had to turn in an annual report that addressed all those pieces of our chart to be sure that we are following the guidelines set forth in the chart. And so with the public charter school, if you do not follow those guidelines, and if you do not meet the goals and objectives that you have set, you can lose your charter. And so we have even more accountability than the public schools, because public schools going to happen regardless of what they are able to do, and regardless of what their student performance is. So we are very rigorously evaluated, and we have meetings with our charter school board leader once a month. We have meetings with our grant provider once a month. So we're constantly interacting with the leadership. So we're responsible to the State Department, but we're also responsible to the charter school board, and we are responsible to our leaders. But most importantly, we are responsible to our parents. Our parents have chosen to send their children to us to be educated differently, to be able to get that quality education that is not currently happening in the public school. So there's this cycle of accountability. And again, we're not just out there winging. So does that kind of
There is a question often received about the quality and certification credentialing of our future teachers, because some may associate private schools with sort of more like the cherry picked teachers versus in public system anyone just kind of is being recruited, and that affects the quality of education. So what are those criteria or standards that you follow in recruitment?
Okay, a big part of what we do is not based on your credentials. It's based on your experience. It's based on your enthusiasm. It's based on your willingness to do things differently. And honestly, sometimes it's easier to take a group that hasn't been painted, for lack of a better word, on public education, and teach them what we need them to be able to do. So we spend a lot of time as a professional development. We have one person on our team that's just amazing, and she is one for professional development. So we're teaching our folks what Wisdom Academy is all about and what we stand for and what our standards are. And then once we teach that, then how do we accomplish this? What are the techniques, strategies, and methods we need to use to accomplish that? And that's one of the things that we were looking at the grant today. What types of professional development are we going to have to provide in order for our teachers to be effective? And we do that. That's a major piece of what we do. We teach them what Wisdom Academy or what Wish Academy is about and how we educate our students to achieve the goals that have been set at the school. Does that make sense?
Yes. So essentially, like maybe in more blunt terms, Wish Academy is not an extension or another expression of the Sunday school. It's completely different setup, proper school, selection committee, qualification, education, probation, to make sure the people you got are the right fit for the job. And obviously we'll be tapping into the pool of people from our community with that background and experience. And I think the experience of Wisdom Academy has been that a lot of the teachers have come from background of the students who are in the correct, and they've been proven to be phenomenal. So again, we'll have some standards and some type of independent body that will determine, who gets hired and what qualifications. All right, there is a big question also on people's mind because we're in a tri-state area, and I know you may not have the answer based on our previous conversations. But what happens if I live across the river in Ohio, or I live in Kentucky, and how does that work with a public charter? So can my kids be admitted into this school? And maybe like you or Dina can.
And so I don't know the answer to that, but Dina and I talked about that, and I'm going to find out the answer to that. I know in higher ed, when I was in higher ed, if someone was on the border, we would give them admission at the in-state rate. And so I do know that some students from out of state are enrolled in public schools in West Virginia. So that's one of the things I have to explore because I don't know the answer to that. But it would be logical that we should be able to do something in that area.
So on that, you want to comment on that?
I have some next. I also just want to explain that, like we control the environment. The environment, my opinion, the public system controls our children. So if you're gonna be putting your kids in Wish Academy and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they're gonna walk through this corridor, go up with our imam, and they're gonna pray. So I mean, you can't do that at any other school, right? Now, these two areas are separate, but we are connected in a way. So, they can come over to the masjid and have a class with the imam. But they have to be completely separate, but that's doable. Like we're very close, we're connected by a corridor. So, and I also wanted to explain a little bit more about the Wish Academy, right? We're not connected to the Islamic school. WISH stands for the Wish Academy is Wisdom, Innovation, and Science and Health. The health part is what makes us unique and set apart from anybody else. We want early exposure to healthcare because we are in this area and the professional like education, exposure to technology and in the right way, right? So I just want to explain that we are separate, but we are also close and also connected.
So just a quick story. I go through all the requests for requisitions. And so I was looking at requisitions on Friday and I saw all these requisitions for comic books. I knew in my head who had asked for that requisition. Again, our 4th grade teacher. But so she provided me with a document that clearly illustrates how that whole humanities thing can be taught through this comic book process she's working with. So a different approach to teaching humanities, but something kids would be interested in. So after I read the book, I approved the requisition for those books for the kids to be using this. And I trust Rachel. I mean, I don't know if any of you know what a Milliken Award winner is, but a Milliken Award winner is each state, the Milliken Foundation selects the best educator from each state. And Rachel was a Milliken Award winner as one of the best educators in West Virginia. And they get like a $25,000 monetary prize. And she is working very closely with our teachers who don't have education backgrounds per se, but have the knowledge. We have 3 doctors in math on our staff. And so we're going to use those very heavily in the upcoming year to address the issues related to our math program. And that's why we have that flexibility to do that. We have small classes, we know our kids, we know our families, and just a point of context. I haven't had a discipline problem that was any concern all year. Just petty things, and all I have to do is say to that student, if you come to my office again, you will call your parent and you will explain your parent right there. So behaviors are not interfering with the instructional learning process, which is amazing for a public school. And that's, in my opinion, a big part of that is because of parent choice. Parents want their children to get the best education possible, and they are 100% supportive of that process.
It's a question but there's a question, I'm not sure I understand, like the rabbi says, is the school going to be added to the area school division? Is this something? Yeah.
Okay, so once Wish Academy is approved, and I have every confidence Wish Academy is going to be approved, it will be considered a county board of education. It will be your local education agency. You will have a superintendent, you will have a principal, you will be able to manage your own school district. So you become basically another county within the West Virginia public school system. So you, again, you have your own governance structure and all of that. And I don't know if that answers the question. So,
It doesn't
Yeah.
answer to the current government.
Say that again.
So it would not be answering to the current talent report.
No, absolutely not. Wish Academy will answer to the State Board of Education
and the West Virginia Public Charter School Board, not Cabell County. Now, if Cabell County chooses to work with Wish Academy, and we haven't had that much luck in Ron County, they could work together and collaborate on things, but no. Wish Academy will be a separate entity in and of itself. So, if you don't see
This is 14, so what range we're starting with and anticipated growth?
So for the first year, we'll be starting from pre-K to third grade. And then the second year, we'll add fourth grade, the third year, we'll add fifth grade. Then hopefully we'll be established well enough, we head to the middle school. And build another building. So this is our goal.
Okay.
And so I will tell you, there is a lot of support in the legislature for public charge. Recently, the legislature appropriated $5 million for the school building authority. And I don't know if you're familiar with the school building authority, but they make the decisions about who gets money to build new buildings and that kind of thing. So we created the school building authority grant. We got $1.1 million to purchase a new building. There are all, and the grant that we were able to get was 1.167. But the grant that Rich is applying for, they can now apply for 1.5 million. And then there's also, I just applied for supplemental grant for $433,000. So there is great support for, again, parents' voice in the public charts. So the legislature understands that parents have a right to say how their children's educated. Well, I think that support is really important.
You have any questions about their control on the curriculum, which books, which novels get read and stuff like that?
Okay, so what we have to do is we have to have our teachers correlate their lesson plans to the West Virginia College and Career Readiness standard. That's another accountability piece that we have to have. Yes, you choose your curriculum. You just cause your curriculum to be coordinated with West Virginia College and Career Readiness standards. And we just have our teachers document that in their lesson plans. But yes, you choose your curriculum, you choose how that curriculum is delivered. And if you honestly trust your educators and you give them leeway in teaching effectively. Now, we look at lesson plans every week. Lesson plans are required. When we go to observe, you better be adhering to your lesson plans. If not, then we have a conversation and we work on how to remediate that. The other thing that we were able to do, and I've talked with Dina about this, is we were able to get $100,000 grant on a literacy program called Success for All. And it fits in perfectly with your grade levels. It goes through fifth grade, pre-K through fifth grade.
Yep.
And you have to use 90 minutes of instruction every day on this literacy program. And I really credit this program with the success we've had in English language arts. So there'll be other opportunities for grants from that area. So hopefully we can get wisdom, I mean, Wish Academy, perhaps, working in that vein as well.
Any more questions, ladies? Any questions? About
So I have a question for you. What worries you about it? What is a concern that you might have about a public charter school?
it's okay, you're not gonna be excited. You gotta fire your cognitive assessors, we're gonna fire this school.
Say that again,
From the private school.
because probably you have to pay tuition. You don't pay tuition for a public charter school because you get funded based on per pupil enrollment.
So actually, this one's gonna be
This is a free education.
just like a regular public. school.
Just like a regular public school, you don't pay tuition, you don't pay any kind of fees or anything. We are funded by enrollment. So yes,
Because it's a very hard, because we still have to support the public charter, so. On average, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but from talking to, different people, so on average, you get somewhere around $8,000 per child that's allocated by the state of West Virginia towards the education of that child. So that money is coming anyway, right? The problem is that faces charter school is they don't necessarily have access to other grants or resources that would ultimately cover the entire cost of having a child in a school system, which can amount to $16,000 per child per year. So there's a lot of other additional expenses. So essentially, the state is giving you the bare minimum, and then the schools have to rely on cities, counties, different resources and grants to supplement, to provide everything that they need for their children. So now it falls on the shoulders of people who have the same vision as the charter school, in our case, the Muslim Association of Huntington, to say, we believe in you, charter, and we're gonna support you. How we're gonna support you, we're gonna make sure that you get some monetary supply of money until you are up on your feet. Now, the formula depends on how many students and how many teachers. Like, as you imagine, when you start with a small number of students and you're getting 8,000 per kid, and you have so many teachers because you have to follow certain standards, you will realize, well, the money that's coming from the government is not enough to pay all the teachers. You own business, you understand that, right? So you have to reach that critical mass of the students, enrollees, who would bring enough money to sustain the school, the salaries, mainly the salaries of the teacher. So this is that shared vision we have with them, and this is why we want to support them until they get to that. So what's in it for us as Muslim Association of Huntington? Number one, quality education. We have a same curriculum, right? We have access to after school education, that is in line with our values. And then I think, again, having like-minded parents will also be very helpful. Because you are not just putting your kids with random kids, you understand that everybody is focused and they know exactly what they're doing. And that obviously, you can speak to some of our youth in the background, they've been in public system, they've shared experiences with me. Many of the parents are completely minded to what really happens in the public system. And I will let you maybe speak just about, not to degrade the public system, because we think, obviously, a lot of good people were the product of that system. But the trajectory, like, what is your foresight?
so I have several concerns, and again, those concerns arose from substitute teaching. First of all, I don't think teachers get the support they need from their administration. I believe that teachers are so constrained, and I'm just going to use an example. So the president of the West Virginia Board of Education comes out with this big document that he uses to make credible that public schools are more accountable than public charter schools. Yes, our charter is about 36 pages, But we have to be accountable for everything that's identified there. We have to, understand that as a public school system, we are a public school system. But I really believe our accountability is much more rigorous than in the public school. The other thing in the public schools is if I was fortunate enough at one point, I worked in higher ed for a long time, and I would step away to get back into the public schools. So one year I taught seventh grade social studies. I started with my kids from the very beginning. It was the best year of education I have ever had. So they asked me to do a long-term sub in a seventh grade social studies class in Randolph. It took me a month to get the students back under control so that I could do any kind of teaching. So when the students are controlling, again, the atmosphere of the class, it is, if teachers can't teach, students can't learn. I couldn't teach for a month. And I'm a seasoned educator who worked with students with behavior disorders. I ran a behavior disorder school at one point. And it's like a month to get these kids back under control. But I will tell you, at the end of the year, one of the exercises I had them do is write something positive about everybody in their class. And they asked me if they could do that about me. And one of the things that they said about me is, you made us learn. And that's what we're able to do that more easily in the public charters because we don't have this issue. And we don't have students' behavior interfering with the teaching learning process. So. And also,
I was reminded by my wife that I should have been more like attentive and introduced the board of the child. Because, as we submit our application, there's a reason why this fine group is here. So Sister Siham, Sister Danielle, they're part of the board, and we've been really working on this application for some time. So I didn't mean to intentionally, and I apologize. But I want you also, if you have any questions, to that, or if you guys have also questions to the audience, because this is really an evolving process. Siham, I don't know if you have, because you've been, like Sister Siham is our kind of liaison with the community. I think this is the best way to put it. So she's constantly relating to us, the concerns of the community. So I don't know if you have like some collective feel about, what do you think? I mean, how successful do you see this endeavor?
I think after listening to Dr. Harrison, even myself, I think I got a lot of the questions clarified, and I think she answered so many questions that I've been receiving from the community about the charter school and what is it in general. Like a lot of people link it to the public schools, which now I think they know that it's not another public school that is being added to this subdivision of the area. So I think you did a great job. I'm excited for this opportunity, and I know that it's gonna benefit our community tremendously. So yeah, thank you for being here and thank you for answering all the questions and thank you.
But can you just, your kind of things to do is,
Yeah.
not in any bad way, but Sister Daniel, she's been really engaged with us for so long. I mean, there's a reason why, we sought her out. We wanted her to be honest. But if you can just give the group a quick introduction about her, your background.
Yeah, my name is Danielle Mullins. I have a PhD in sociology from Virginia Tech. I taught at the college level, and then I've done a lot of volunteering at the elementary education level. And I also work for the Wish Academy on Sundays, and I love working with real children. I think they are very excited to learn, and that's really refreshing. And I'm excited for this process.
You wanted to say something, I'm sorry for giving you the opportunity to say something. And if you guys have any questions,
Thing about what you have me do is our class sizes. So our max students is 15 per class. In the public system, 30, 35 per class for one teacher. So they get, you know, a lot of, I just think it's, I mean, I like that one.
So it definitely said like fifteen of my daughter. Yeah.
She's,
When she do, like, now that.
she's pre-K. How old is your daughter? So, yeah, she has to be 4 by July 1st. She has to be 4 by July 1st to enter into pre-K. That is, yeah, so.
I think it's that much. There's not space for
Yeah, because we're doing pre-K, so, you know, she has to be that by July 1st. She has to turn 4 to be able to.
I don't like it's like spot the spots, like how it's been like this. He gonna have like the guaranteed spots for his, this is the class is probably gonna be 15. So that's the thing with one up, you need to answer. Out there now, we're.
Okay, so that's a really good question. And before I forget, I want to make a point. So one of the things that we looked at with our pre-K and K is early admission. So we created a policy that our board approved, and based on a set of criteria, if a student is 3 years and 6 months and they want to be considered for pre-K, then we'll look through that set of criteria, and if they meet the qualifications, then they can be admitted. And we did the same thing with kindergarten. If you're 4 years, 6 months, you could qualify for early admission. Now, with the number of students that we are trying to keep active, it's important that we keep small class sizes. And because that is part of the process of having so much success in causing students to learn, because we know every one of our kids. And the major question is, do you have a guaranteed spot? So here, there's a process called the lottery process. And if you have students enrolled, then you can accommodate. Then you have to go to the lottery. And it's basically, you just do a random selection of 15. But the other thing is, if you want to increase your enrollment, you can ask the public charter school board to increase it. But I would never recommend going over, 17 or 18. You could always open another five. It's all. But again, the cost is, and it's a good point in reference. You don't get any state funding for the pre-K. So you don't get any dollars from the state and whoever we have it on the pre-K. But we want to accommodate our families, and I think Academy wants to do the same thing. So we feel that it's well worth our efforts to have a pre-K program and fund that pre-K program with, like, Deborah has really helped. Deborah has been financially supportive of our school, and so with that pre-K program, and I know this is not higher ed money. It's a recruitment tool. You keep bringing that as a pre-K and you do a good job, then they're going to say kindergarten, first grade, etc. And it's something I'd like to do for our families. Just to provide an opportunity for their child to be in school early. So they learn the process of appropriate educational instruction.
so there is a question, you can answer that would be about the Arabic language. Will it be taught in the school?
It will. So it will be taught, and like what Deb does, she does I think a survey to see what language you want your kids to learn. Arabic could be one, French could be one, but but we have to offer at least two. So, yeah, so yes to that question. Absolutely, yes. Yes.
But and what we did is we sent surveys out to parents, of course, and we picked the top two. We offered French, Spanish, and Arabic. And so we taught Spanish online and we taught Arabic. And we will be doing that same thing soon, doing another survey, because we have to document that we have been fair in offering opportunities for all kids. And so the same thing with the prayer room. We have a prayer room, but we offer all of our students the same opportunity to have time to find prayer. And we have to do that because we are in public schools. So, I mean, and there's been no issues whatsoever with that.
Any more questions? Questions on the side? Everybody, any questions? Imam, any questions? No, Imam is good. No, if we get the approval of the Imam, we're good. I think this is probably, yeah, it's been an hour. And we really appreciate you taking the time. She drove all the way down here from Morgantown, so we really appreciate you. It's very insightful talk. I'm sure you'll have more questions. This is just a beginning of many meetings, to bring this, closer to home so we understand what's all involved with it. Thank you so much for your attention. We have free pizza, so help yourselves. And the snow cone